All right. So it's Julian Wakefield, right?
That's correct.
All right. So Julian Wakefield, thank you so much for coming on the iFilmmaker podcast. How you doing,
You're
man?
welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm pretty good, pretty excited. How are
Awesome,
you?
man. So I love your setup there. I love your setup. You're definitely making me a little bit jealous. Um, Tell me about you have your own podcast, right? So you just told me that you just started, and I know that I said I was going to mention it later, but that's just want to kind of show everybody that you have a really nice setup because you actually have a podcast. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
we have our own podcast and we also record podcasts for our clients as well.
Oh,
So
nice.
we have 4 or 5 of these microphones. I know
Wow.
from listening to your podcast that you're a fan of them.
Yes,
Um,
I love it. It
so
sounds so good. And I love it when my guest has the same microphone because I know it's going to be a really good sounding episode.
yeah, yeah.
So we're definitely going to get into all that. I want to start with your background in media. How did you start? What was the first thing? Like, was it, social media? Was it video? Was it audio? Like, how did you get into this whole world of media? First of all, uh, your company and
Yep,
kind of how you got all started.
sure. Um, Well, I mean, I guess I'll start at the beginning, and I'll go through it pretty quickly because I don't want to bore people too much. But way back in the day, I used to paint portraits, and I painted from photographs. And when people kept sending me blurry, out of focus, dark images, I was like, well, I can't paint you if I can't see you. So I got into photography, take my own images, and then kind of segued into video because I was like making videos of me painting these portraits, and they're kind of still sprinkled around YouTube here and there.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I got started in all the filmmaking side of things. And when I was at university, I knew I wanted to work in like branding and PR and marketing, something like that. And then I graduated, and while I was looking for I was going to say a proper job. This is a proper job. But while I was looking for a branding job, I started doing some photos and videos for the pub at the end of our street. And that was just to get some pocket money while I was job searching. And it kind of snowballed from there. And the guy, my business partner, and I, we met at university, and he was kind of doing similar things when we both graduated. And so we teamed up and founded Terralon Media. Um,
Awesome. That's fantastic. Love that. That was a good story. So when you decided that you wanted to kind of step into the world of media, was your first instinct to, obviously start doing it for money, but was it to go freelance or was it to look for a job doing these services?
Um, well, I guess even before I got into it, I was sort of freelance, if that makes sense. Like
Right.
I was just freelancing for the local pub without really knowing what I was doing. I was just trying to, um, I guess, make some beer money.
Right.
Um, and
Okay. Um, so tell me about Terralon Media. How did it start? What did you start um, providing as a service, and has that evolved throughout the years? What year did it start, by the way?
we started in 2014.
Okay.
That's like the uh,
Okay.
official founding date. I mean, we were doing bits and pieces a little bit before. And yeah, it's massively changed. We started mostly doing video, or pretty much only doing videos. And the guy was doing a lot of sports. I was doing pubs and a couple of nightclubs in London, through friends' contacts. Eventually, we added photographs, and then animation beyond that. And most recently, we've started adding an extra layer of social media strategy on top, because we would make all this content for our clients, give it to them, and then they would not necessarily know what to do with it, or we'd film something, it wasn't necessarily the right type of content for their clients. So I kind of use my background in sort of social media studies, PR, branding, and all that kind of stuff. To well, we're kind of aiming for a hybrid between a PR company and a media production company. So now we'll start all the way from the beginning with the kind of strategy. What content does your audience want to see? What's your message? What's your tone of voice? All that kind of stuff. All the way through the production to our social media services now, where basically clients sign up and we'll do a shoot day. Pretty much, it depends on clients, but roughly a shoot day a month, mix of photos and videos. And then we'll create micro content and take control of their social media accounts and trickle that out onto their accounts for them, rather than them, cropping videos in weird ways or adding a filter over photos that we've taken hours to grade for them.
And how much creative control do you have over your clients' content? Because I've worked for agencies, and I see sometimes frustration that happens within an agency where a client, basically gives a lot of creative control to the advertising agency or the media company, but then the client will go take it upon themselves to make their own posts, and they kind of in terms of quality and creativeness, it kind of completely opposite of what the agency is doing. So how much creative control do clients usually give you, and is that usually an issue?
So there's a lot of talks and collaboration along the way, because at the end of the day, it is their social media, it is their online presence.
Right.
So, for example, if they're on one of our social media subscriptions, we always start off by sitting down with them and establishing what their strategy is, what their tone of voice should be, and that kind of stuff. Then, when we do make the content, we never post anything without their approval. So we use different types of software, which lets the client log on and see all the posts that we've scheduled, with all the captions and anything, and they just go through it and they just tick approve, or add a comment if they need something to be changed. And that's pretty much it. Some clients also post themselves, because a lot of times they will have some sort of marketing, internal marketing capacity, and we kind of come on as an extra bolt on to their existing teams.
Right. So basically, you're giving the clients an option, like instead of the client going on and hiring a full-on creative marketing PR department, they could just do it through you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they could either hire one person or a couple of people to do it in-house, to manage their social media and their PR. But they won't necessarily have the capabilities of a media production company, and all the gear and the knowledge and all that kind of stuff that it takes to produce, to film, to
Right.
take the photo. Or they could hire a freelance photographer, or a videographer, a filmmaker, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But the issue there is that they're not part of the social media process.
Sure.
So we, as content creators, we see how much engagement each post that we're creating for them is getting, and over time, we not only do we build up a bank of content that we can edit in different ways, but we also learn what their audience wants to see, where the engagement is, and we'll constantly tweak the content that we make for them as we go along. And that's something that you can't necessarily do if you separate the two parts of that process.
Sure. Yeah, the production aspect of anything is quite expensive, and not only that, it's tricky to find the right people for the message that you're trying to convey, And I guess it does make sense to look at an agency that has your message in mind. And speaking of your message, you mentioned earlier that you try to get a handle, you try to get a grip of what your client's message is, what their product is, and how they should kind of convey that message. How do you try and sort of get in your client's mindset with regard to their product or service? How do you try to understand what it is that they're looking for, or what would be the best strategy to market their product or service? Are there specific questions that you ask? How do you kind of engage that?
Yeah, a lot of those questions can be answered by what type of industry they're in and who their audience is. So, for example, we work with a lot of financial institutions and legal firms, and they will have a very different tone of voice than, say, FMCG companies, or maybe a younger company who's a bit more, a bit more casual with the way they speak to people.
Interesting.
Are you? Sorry, I thought I lost you there. Your
No,
video froze up.
no, I think yeah, my video looks like it froze for some reason.
It's just gone blank now for me.
Did it really? Let me see.
Yeah. Wait, I see
See?
a film school logo.
Oh no. Let me see something. Let me go to FaceTime. It's going to be a disgusting image real quick.
There we go.
Oh, wait, that's
You're
the
using an Atom Mini Pro or something.
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I have my FX9, which is crazy overkill, and I'm sending a Cine EI S-Log3 into the Ninja V,
Right.
applying that LUT, the Phantom LUT that I love very much, and sending that out to the capture card through the computer. But man, I don't know what's going on right now. Super, super weird. Oh no. Let me try disconnecting it and reconnecting it.
Do you edit your podcast, or do you just kind of upload them as is?
So, okay, you got the video back. Oh, you're looking at us. Ugh, what the heck's going on right now? I do edit the audio. I edit the audio to submit to iTunes to make it as clean as possible. See, that's without a LUT. Oh God, what the hell's going on here?
I mean, like, all of this kind of stuff. Would you leave this in, or?
In the video, I try not to edit the video too much at all. But what I do is I offer I just offer the raw unedited podcast, like, as a way to like just go and watch it on YouTube. But if they want a clean show, the edited clean show, just you can listen to it on all platforms, on the iTunes, on
Should
Spotify.
I be trying to, for your YouTube viewers, then should I be trying to like provide some form of entertainment while you're sorting out your
dude, I don't know, I'm still stuck there. My goodness, what's going on here? Oh no, don't worry about that. It's goodness gracious. It's funny because sometimes my dog will come and just jump on the desk, as she's a big golden retriever. She'll come and interrupt and whatnot. Obviously,
that's cute.
I edit all that out, but viewers can see that in the unedited. Come on. Oh God, I totally messed this up. I don't know what happened. Let me turn off the. Sorry about this, man.
Hey, no worries. I don't mind at all.
Stop video. All right, there we go. I think we're back on.
Looks good to me.
Next time I get stuck, I'm just gonna ignore it.
The joys of technology, huh?
Oh man, I think I'm also in too high quality, I guess. I don't know. I think Cine EI is pretty heavy. Even though it is 1080, but
yeah.
So okay, where were we? Talking about your clients' needs.
And trying to figure out what their I guess, what their tone of voice is and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, trying to kind of gather my thoughts here. So I guess let's go ahead and move on to the social media subscription service that you have.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that. You want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I mean, I've already explained how it works. So I suppose I'll go into the reasons why we're doing that.
Okay.
Is because, I mean, for me, you have two main types of content. You have your big hero content, which is going to be um, the content that's on your website, your I guess your homepage welcome video, your elevator pitch video. You have your big what is it? Your large product releases, big calendar events around Christmas or whatever. Those will be generally higher production value, longer form content, that kind of stuff. But nowadays with social media, you kind of need this relentless flow of bite-sized content. Your 10-second videos for 10 to 15-second videos for Instagram Reels, your one-off photos for your Instagram feed, or you may be posting just one-shot clips for your Instagram feed, or other platforms. And you kind of have to post that kind of stuff almost every day. And it can be either very difficult for brands to produce that content or very expensive. So we kind of were looking for a solution for to answer that need. So so we came up with a social media solution where we kind of create that that bite-sized content and that flow of content for our clients, and it works out pretty well because for us it's pretty much a guaranteed monthly job. There's a lot of added value on the back end of us managing their social media accounts, and learning from their social media accounts as well. So it just gives an extra layer of service on top of the content we provide. And so far, it's been pretty well received, and yeah, we've been enjoying providing that service.
That's fantastic. And you guys seem to be heading in the right direction, seem very relatively successful, and I congratulate you for that. Um, but I'm sure that that success did not come with some sort of road bumps or speed bumps along the way. What are some things that you've learned throughout the years since 2014, since you guys opened, that you kind of wish you would have avoided, or you would recommend somebody that's starting a media company to sort of avoid?
Um,
I'm sure that I'm bringing back a
where
lot of
to
memories right there.
Yeah, where to start? I mean, I think we never uh, took any um, lessons in how to do this. I mean, we didn't go to film school,
Sure.
um, other than the odd waiting job, or bartending job. We never worked for anyone else, so we pretty much learned everything through trial and error. Um,
Hmm.
and there was a fair deal of error along the way. Um, I mean, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't really think of like one like big mistake that might stand out.
So
I mean,
tell me
not that there were none, but
tell me about, okay, so what about, obviously without naming any names, and you don't have to answer this question, but what about some clients that you would rather sort of avoid or maybe approached differently? Is there any of that that went on with regards to like maybe pitching some sort of deal with the client or making bids? Is there some certain routes that you wish you would have taken, or that you took and you found that was very successful, etc., like things like that?
yeah, I suppose a good piece of advice would be to to always lay down the expectations on both sides up front, and get everything written down in the contract. I say this because when we started out, we have email exchanges with clients and agree on a budget, and we'd say, okay, well, we need half of the fees up front, and the footage will be used for this, and this. And then you go, and then it's a fast turnaround shoot, perhaps, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't get our finance department to free up the fees in time, so we're like, all right, sure, we'll come and shoot it anyway because it's an event and it's time sensitive.
Yikes.
And then the company goes bust, and you never get paid. I mean, it's kind of.
But did you ever submit the footage, or?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah. No, maybe that's not the best example. I mean, we've
Right.
had more recent examples, and I can't really talk about it too much.
No.
We were hired for one thing, and then there's like project creep, and all of a sudden, like, the original shoot or the original project is like twice the size of what it originally is or was intended to be.
Right.
And then it's a delicate situation where you kind of have to say to your client, like, look, we need a bit more money for this, because like this is like twice the amount of work now. And then you have to kind of, yeah.
So that's a perfect example. Let's say moving forward, right? How would you avoid a situation like that where you underquote a client, whether it's, I mean, you may have checked off all the boxes in terms of figuring out what they need, but when push comes to shove and, the wheels are already turning, they start requesting for more stuff than what was originally quoted, was that kind of like the deal there in sort of what happened, or was it something that you wish you would have gotten more information?
Pretty much. So remind me of your question. I got a bit lost there.
So I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I know we were kind of like up and down. So I'm trying to kind of lay it out where trying to figure out situations that maybe people should avoid, or how can they sort of maneuver a tricky situation where, for example, a client approaches you, they need something really, really fast. And like you mentioned, they can't get the finances to you fast, which has happened to me many times. Thankfully, my clients have pretty much always paid, thankfully, but it is risky, to do work without being paid first, or at least a half upfront or deposit or whatever, or just underquoting a client, or a client later on going in and asking for more than what was originally quoted for or agreed upon.
Yeah, so I think you need to, well, first off, you need to figure out whether you trust the clients or not. If they're a new client and you have no idea who they are and where they've come from, then you're going to want to be a bit more cautious than
a simple Google search, I think, usually does the trick for me.
Yeah, I mean, for example, the example I was talking about first off was one of the nightclubs in the early days.
Okay.
And they're kind of notorious for popping up and disappearing and
yikes
and that kind of stuff. So I probably should have gone in and maybe filmed the event, but not delivered the footage until funds had cleared.
Right.
Sorry, the people next door.
No, it's okay.
Banging around. Then in terms of negotiating, if there's project creep, I think it's if you just speak to your clients clearly and professionally, there's a lot of value in that. As in, clients will tell. I'm having a really hard time getting my thoughts out here.
Take your time.
Clients will kind of understand that, you need to be rewarded for your work.
Yeah.
And if you say, I'd happily do this for you, but this is exceeded the boundaries of our initial project, I can provide you with a new quote for this if you're happy to do that.
Yeah.
And if you say that clearly and calmly and with confidence, then, I mean, if anything, you'll just come across as even more professional.
Right.
But it's, again, it's important to have established what the limits of your original project are from the start.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
good.
And that's something we, when we were starting out, we were always so excited when we got a project. We were like, yeah, let's go. All right, let's,
Yeah.
we've already got the cameras out and we're hitting the ground running, but we hadn't done that onboarding process of, who's the client.
Right.
Let's get a contract in place. Let's talk
Sure.
about what we're going to talk about what you're going to pay us for this, but we'll also talk about what we're going to deliver and how you're going to use it.
Yeah. That's good. That's great advice. I think that that's one of the things, especially starting off, I did many times where I underquoted a client. I was just more excited about, having a client, getting a project underway, and didn't take the time to really analyze who the client was, what it is that they needed, and the pricing of what I just, the actual value of what I just gave them, the amount of work that I'm about to undertake right now. And I think that's a very, very common mistake that people, underquoting um, out of sheer excitement alone, and they don't want to lose the client, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that things like that come with experience. With
Oh, for
experience,
sure.
the more you do it, the better you get at it, for sure. The right words, the right avenues to take.
I think
Mhm.
as well, like with experience comes confidence,
Yeah,
and when you're more confident, you're in a better position to negotiate your rates.
100%.
And as you grow larger and have more clients, there comes a point where you will have the luxury to be able to walk away from the table if they're just not meeting
Mhm.
your minimum expectations for, or your minimum rates that you would accept for that job.
Right.
And they can't just keep pushing you down, keep pushing the price down.
Yeah, that's good. That's good for people listening. That's fantastic advice. And what I want to let people know is that they're not going to start a business and one day to the next is going to end up being, 5, 10, 15 clients all at once. And you're managing, it takes time. It takes mistakes that are just simply inevitable. You're going to make mistakes,
Mm.
and so I just want to kind of give them a little nudge and kind of little tips and advice there where they can kind of have their expectations, and make the right decisions and be on the lookout for those clients that you might want to avoid. Pay attention to the red flags. There was this one time that I ignored all kinds of flags, and I ended up, I didn't lose any money because I didn't spend any money, but basically the client just disappeared. But that's literally my fault. I ignored every single flag. It was like 3 flags that I completely ignored, and it was absolutely my fault. But thankfully, I mean, I didn't spend any money. I didn't hire anybody. It was just, I went out there, did a shoot, delivered footage, never got paid for it. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, obviously I learned, and moving forward, I won't make that mistake again. So anyways, that was awesome. I want to get into, uh, I guess, tell me about your podcast. You guys run a podcast, or you do podcasting for clients now. How does that work?
Yeah. So, I mean, those are two separate things. Podcasting for clients is fairly simple. We just go into the client's offices, sit down and install all the microphones and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and then sit down and they'll sit in front of the microphone and start talking, and they'll have guests and
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and then we just take all that back and edit it for them. So
Nice.
pretty much
Pretty
standard.
straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Our podcast, it's for, I'd say it's kind of aimed at filmmakers in that we talk about gear now and then. We talk about lights and that kind of stuff, but we don't want
Love
it
it.
to be just another kind of gear, talking about the latest gear kind of thing. We try to focus on maybe the business aspects of it,
Hmm.
how to market yourself better, how to uh, how to improve your relationship with your clients, but
Nice.
also there was a lot in the few first episodes. There was a period where we were talking a lot around the mental health of being in this industry. Um, so, if you're a freelancer, it can be quite a lonely job sometimes if you're
Yeah.
sat at home all the time, um,
As if you don't have jobs.
or if you don't have jobs. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's funny because
But
that's no, that's interesting that you mentioned that. Have you done the whole freelance thing on your own before, or
not
have
really,
you
because
went straight
pretty
into media company?
yeah, straight from the start, I was already teaming up with Guy, and I mean, essentially, we were kind of in the early days. We were two freelancers who were working under the same name, under Terralon.
Okay.
Uh, but we talk a lot, and we do projects together, like design the website and things like that.
Right.
And then eventually, we had jobs that were big enough to warrant us both going out together on those projects. Um, and it grew from there. And that was a huge help because, I mean, I look at my friends who are freelancers and who are still going, and I'm very impressed because
Yeah.
we've had some challenges and ups and downs and low moments and
It
moments where it's like, when's
yeah.
the next job going to come? And if I didn't have uh, someone to be accountable to, I don't know how long I would have lasted.
It's definitely not for everyone. I will say, as someone that has been freelancing, um, I've been really freelancing for maybe 5 years now since I left the last job that I was at to go full-time freelance. And I moved out of my parents' place like 4 years ago. So a year after I went full-time freelance, I moved out and I've been pretty well. And it definitely has its ups and downs for sure. Um, but one of the things that I've learned, it definitely absolutely takes a lot of discipline. But as my career in has grown, right, in experience and all that stuff, I come to realize like your ups has got to kind of satisfy your downs and whatnot. So just because you have a whole month that you were just nonstop making an incredible amount of money, doesn't mean that the next month is going to be the same way. So be careful on how you spend the money. I've definitely learned that the hard way. So just being a lot more careful in that sense. But for me, I really don't do too much post production. Actually, all I do is shoot, which is interesting. But I think I basically enjoy the shooting aspect of it more. I really enjoy post production when it's my own job, when it's my own like passion project, and I'm very excited about this video that I'm about to do. Or when clients often, they'll give me a whole project to do from start to finish and everything. So that's super enjoyable that I have full control over that. But yeah, I mean, freelancing, it's a learning process. I'm sure just like running a media company, it's an absolutely different monster, and they both have their ups and downs. But no, you're right. It's definitely, I get paid on a per project basis. I have no clients right now paying me retainer. So I only get paid if I go out and shoot, or, if I'm doing something. I don't get paid anything, basically nothing for this podcast, nothing for the YouTube stuff that, I've posted. It's all really just my client work, the direct to client work. So, but it definitely has its ups and downs. It is scary sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. um, I think one of the other things that um, we were very deliberate in choosing to work under a company name rather than our own names as freelancers is
Yeah.
because if clients want you as a freelancer, or want you as, if they know your name,
Right.
then they that say they say, hey, can you come film on this day? But if you're busy that day, you can't go. If
Yeah.
they know your company name, and um and you're busy that day, you say, yeah, sure, we'll send a
Yeah.
camera operator around, or
Right.
we'll send someone around. And so it kind of enables you to scale it a bit more, providing you use, you trust the
Of
people who you're
course. Yeah.
sending out, and you build a good team for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've definitely come into that situation before where a client wants to hire me, but I'm booked. They weren't too happy. Thankfully, I've been able to get a replacement for myself, but then I have to ensure the client that they're really good. I would trust them as if it was me, sort of thing. And I don't recall that I've lost any work on it, but I do recall that sometimes clients aren't happy about that. you know but I mean, it is what it is. If they don't call me on time, then they can't book me. But I would even say, on the other side of that, though, is that you do create a name for yourself, that you do get branded, and therefore clients remember you. And that's kind of sort of worked and on my behalf several times, where clients simply just remember me and they just want to work with me when they come into Miami, et cetera, or South Florida or whatever. I had a client that did a job over Flow Sports. I work a lot with Flow Sports. They did a couple of jobs here in Miami, but then they had a job all the way in Tallahassee, up in the panhandle of Florida. And it was like a 10-hour drive for me. But they could have easily hired somebody over there, but they decided they wanted me to go out and tackle this for them, which was very humbling and appreciative. So there's kinds of those two sides right there, those two sort of levels of. And I started my previous name for my company used to be 10 Gates Productions, but I decided several years ago that I wanted to brand myself for that specific reason. I wanted, that's how I do my clients, even with 10 Gates. They didn't know 10 Gates. They just knew Ariel. So, because I was the one that always showed up. And so, yeah, but you're right about the whole scaling thing. Like, it doesn't leave too much room for scaling if that's what your goal is. Yeah, my goal was quite the opposite, to just simply
Yeah,
brand my name.
it's definitely different. I suppose it depends who you're going for, because if you're working for, if your aim is to work for other production companies, there's a very different way of marketing yourself than
Yeah.
if you want to work with the end client directly, which is what we do. So, for example, this is something that I want to discuss on one of our podcast episodes. Is I see a lot of filmmakers and fellow photographers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Their Instagram feeds and their social media is just full of camera gear,
Right.
which is great. It gets a lot of engagement from other filmmakers, because we all love gear. But
Yep.
if you're trying to market yourself to the end client, and your end client is someone like a brand or whatever,
Right.
they don't know or care about camera gear
Yeah.
at all. I mean, okay, fine, if you come in with lots of lights and a big
Yeah.
camera, you're going to look more
Yeah.
impressive than if you come in and film something on your phone.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a question that I ask myself a lot, is why is everyone posting pictures of camera gear all the time on their social media? Is that
So,
actually working and helping you get more clients? I don't know.
yeah, so I had the same exact conversation with Danny Gevirtz when he came on the podcast a couple of episodes back. And he said the same thing, where I do a lot of direct to client stuff too, but I'm not getting clients like Nike. I'm not getting clients like Walmart. I'm not getting any major players like that. I'm getting clients like production companies or advertising agencies. Sometimes I do direct to client work, but it's not anything like huge like Apple. I'm not getting those clients. I'm getting some small time clients, but I'm still getting paid my same rate. you know
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing so. I guess my approach in essence, it's I'm doing what I absolutely love to do. You know, I could go the media advertising route and, you know, try to scale, and, you know, I think I'd do okay. But what I absolutely love to do, and thank God that, you know, he's blessed me and I love what I do and I have a passion for what I do, and that's why I think, you know, I've grown. It's because I love what I do. And thankfully, I'm able to find those clients, media companies, ad agencies that hire me only to do what I do. And I can absolutely make a living for it. And I guess for me, the way, you know, I'm one of those people that you're talking about that post a lot of gear.
Oh,
Uh,
I am too. I mean, I'm I should
yeah.
listen to my
So
own advice, but yeah.
so, you know, the reason why I do it is because it is my passion. And that's, you know, in a way, it is marketing and reminding people this is what I do. You know, I'm always behind a camera. I'm shooting interviews, I'm shooting B-roll, you know, and I'm posting what I shoot. It's a simple reminder. You know, I'm not going to go and advertise. You'd be surprised. Like you go and you post a big behind the scenes image. Like if you post a finished product, you'll get a good amount of engagement and likes and etc. But if you post the behind the scenes of that product, you get even way more. Have you noticed that?
Mm.
That a lot
Yeah,
of people
yeah,
are more
absolutely.
interested in
I
the
mean,
behind the scenes.
even on a recent video that we did for ourselves to promote ourselves, we posted a blooper reel, and that got. I mean, it didn't get more engagement than the
Yeah,
main video because we
yeah,
kind of pushed that out a little bit more, but it got so much engagement compared
yeah,
to the effort that we
yeah.
put into it.
See,
Um,
I
yeah.
don't think that, like, for example, I don't think I'm a threat to your business. Like, there's no way I can take business from you guys because I'm not an ad agency. That's not what I do. I can't offer people, you know, social media PR, like scheduled posts. I could learn how to do that, but I'm not interested in learning how to do that, you know, and that's just me. And I think that when people start off, this is me too. Back in the day, they'd start off trying to advertise absolutely everything. Yes, I'll
Mhm.
handle your social media. I'll handle your YouTube. I'll handle, like, no, I don't do that. That's not my job. I remember I made with 10 Gates Productions on my shirt, on the back of my shirt, it said absolutely everything. It said weddings, video, blogs.
Yeah.
I'll do conferences. I'll do events, whatever it is, 15s, photography. Like I did absolutely everything back when I first started. Obviously, I didn't know very well. I just, you know, figured this is, I'm starting and let me just offer anything and see what sticks. But the more and more I went and continued to do my business, I figured out what I love, how I love to do it, and apparently people love how I do my work. So, and so that's kind of what I love to do. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think we see that a lot even today. You know, I think it's inevitable. People when they start doing it, they're just trying to make money, trying to start making a living off of it with a
Well,
camera.
it's important, I guess, when you start off to try a lot of different things and figure out
hundred
what it is
percent.
you like.
Yeah, yeah,
And then after that, there's the question of should I specialize or
yeah,
should I do a bit of everything?
yeah,
I'm on the camp where I think it's important to specialize, or I think
yeah.
it's maybe not important, but it will help you grow a lot quicker if you specialize.
hundred
If you
percent.
develop a skill that no one else does, or if you become like the person to go to for, I don't know, fishing videos.
Yeah,
Um, because then say you're, you know, if I had a shoe brand, um, and I want to make some videos, I'm going to go to the guy who does shoe videos and
yeah,
who's a specialist in that because I want nothing other than the best from my shoe company.
yeah,
Um, and I'm not going to go to someone who brands himself as I can do a bit of everything,
yeah,
even if it turns out he produces better videos than the shoe guy.
yeah,
Um, because, you know, as a shoe person, I don't necessarily know the difference between the two. I just know that one says he's like the shoe video guy.
mm. That's a good point. That's a good point. And I think that like a lot of wedding videographers fall into that category, specializing in
Yeah.
weddings. You see them
Well,
that
that
they get paid a lot. What were you saying?
Yeah, that's that. The flip side of the coin is the danger of putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And I mean, now with the coronavirus, anyone who's into events, or I guess to a certain extent wedding videos,
Yikes. Yeah, the
it's
whole wedding
that's been
industry
pretty
got
difficult.
destroyed. I feel bad because it's unfortunate. I wasn't going to mention it, but I was supposed to get married this Saturday. Like literally this Saturday, I was supposed to get married. Um, and obviously we had to push it back, but I got in contact with my photographers that I had hired. I feel so bad for them. They're literally considering
Yeah,
like doing Uber, which
yeah,
and they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal photographers. And I couldn't feel worse for them, you know, and they're just getting demolished. And it's just super super unfortunate the way it affected us. And I don't want to take the podcast into like that dark to that dark section there, but yeah, no, it is important to consider what you said and not putting your eggs in that basket. Like, so for me, I basically brand myself in production, like
mhm,
essentially all aspects of production. Yeah, no, I'm not specialized in shoes. I'm not specialized. What my specialty is interviews and B-roll, which is very generic. It's
mhm.
very generic. But I do specialize in kind of sort of offering everything, which is why I invest a lot in gear, in good gear that I can offer, you know, essentially the size of a crew. And I know sort of I'm not a specific audio engineer, but I can get you some fantastic audio quality recorded externally with time code. So what would
Yeah,
normally cost you roughly $900 to $1,000, I can give it to you much much less. You know,
yeah,
and so things like that I'm able to specialize in because again I'm studying this stuff. I see I know what I need to have, the basics and whatnot, and yeah, it's definitely something that I'm gearing more and more into as I continue my pursuit in loving documentary filmmaking and all that stuff. And I want to continue to make my own, you know, passion projects
mhm.
and kind of work in that direction. So, no, but you're absolutely right. And I think that's also true in the whole medical field. When you specialize, you make a lot more money as a
Oh
special
yeah,
as a
yeah, for sure.
specialist than when you kind of do a general practice type of deal.
Hmm.
So same is true here. When you specialize in something, you can make wedding videographers pre-COVID. Uh, you know, if you specialize in weddings, you get a lot more higher end weddings.
Well, it gives people a reason to remember you. It's
Oh yeah,
kind of like, if there's one thing that sticks out,
yeah,
then people are going to remember you. If you're just like good at a lot of different things, then I mean, that's great.
yeah,
But you have to have like maybe people who do that, people who film a bit of everything, they get remembered because their attitude towards approaching the production is
yeah,
really good,
yeah,
or they're very very communicative with their clients, and that's great. um, and that's the kind of thing that sticks out for their clients, and helps people remember them. But if you specialize in a specific type
yeah,
of filmmaking, or whatever it is you do, then not only do you have something that stands out and lets people remember you, but you also become like the go-to person in that industry.
yeah. That's good to know, man. Um, so I would love to talk about these awesome videos that you create with Mr. Philip Bloom. I'm sure they look like a blast every time I see the behind the scenes. What is it like making content with Philip Bloom?
um it's a lot of fun. Like, I know online sometimes he has a pretty harsh sense of humor. um
I love it. I love
but
it so much.
um but I guess if you kind of get used to that, he's a really nice guy. And I mean, we met uh several years ago when um they were filming an episode of The Wonderlist down in the Everglades.
Okay.
And they were looking for an assistant just for a day or two, and they had to be local because um, they didn't have a budget to fly someone out there and provide accommodation, and they also needed American citizenship to be legal to work there.
Mm.
And I just happened to be on holiday. My mom's got a place in Naples in Florida, and we were out there for
Nice.
a month. We were out there for a month around Christmas and New Year's. And my mom's American, so I've got American citizenship. And so and I also live down the road from him here in England. So I sent an email or sent a message to the Facebook thing, wherever it was, saying, I'm here. I'm not local, but I'm here. I'm legal to work here, and I also live down the road from you in the UK. So I guess that's what stuck.
Nice.
And after that, we kind of kept in touch and worked on a few projects together over the years, and became good friends. So, I mean, he's been great because he's a good friend, and also a great person to know when you're kind of learning things.
Oh yeah.
So, whether it's advice on gear or, I mean, when we filmed his MZ masterclasses, and I was just there sitting behind the camera, just
Yeah,
pretty much learning everything he was saying.
that's
So that was
terrific.
great. Yeah. And
That's
then
awesome.
he gets all the latest bits of gear and everything, so you get to try them out and get his
That's not fair.
first-hand opinion on them. So
That's
yeah.
not fair. So yeah, I'm actually shooting in Naples tomorrow. I have a shoot there tomorrow, which
Cool.
is cool and interesting. I think one of the funniest he has the most sarcastic sense of humor that I find hilarious, and nobody hides from it. I remember one time he had I forgot what video he posted. He posted a video, and somebody in the comment section, oh, that's right, he had mentioned something. He had mentioned a bit of piece of information. Clearly he mentions it. And then somebody in the comment asked about that he mentioned, like, what frame rate are you recording, whatever it was. But he mentions it in the video. And then he simply responded, try turning on the audio. Try turning on the audio. I was like,
Yeah, I mean,
he's such a savage.
he gets a
So funny.
lot of weird comments on the stuff he posts. So you can't blame him after a while if he gets
He's been doing
fed
it
up
for a long
or
time.
yeah.
He's been doing it for a long time. That's awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people find Terralon Media?
Sure. So, I mean, our main place we post stuff is Instagram to stay up to date with what we do. So, Terralon Media is at Terralon Media. I'm also at Julian Wake on Instagram.
Perfect.
And I mean, you can go visit our website, terralon.co.uk,
Yeah.
if you want to see some of our work. But
Yeah.
and then, of course, our podcast, which is, if you go on our Instagram, you'll find links to it eventually.
Yeah. And I'll be putting all those links on the show notes for this episode. If you're listening to this on iTunes, you can have a clickable link down below to all of those links, including Julian's podcast. What's the official name of the podcast?
It's Terralon Talks.
Terralon Talks.
Yeah.
Love it. You'll find a link to that down below on the show notes for this episode. Julian, thanks so much for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, we can stop the recording now.
Cool.
Dude, that was amazing. Thank you.